Hey friends and family, my name is Dara and you just tuned in to Dear Hallmark. It's my space to kind of gush about TV movies, Hallmark movies, Great American Family movies and stuff. And now I can add Hallmark Mahogany to that list. I'm so excited. Wow, what a beautiful movie Unthinkably Good Things was. It was an unthinkably good movie because I couldn't imagine just the caliber. First of all, when I first read who they casted for this, I knew they weren't playing. Joyful Drake, Erica Ash, and Lance Gross were the three that I was familiar with going in. And Terry J. Vaughn as well, who was the director, who I interviewed, had the wonderful honor and pleasure of interviewing her. So if you guys haven't seen that already, please be sure to check out that interview. She goes into how she got attached to the project, how she became director of the movie, and she even teased I shouldn't say teased, but she talked to us a little bit about some scenes that were deleted and what it was like filming in Italy. So be sure to check out that interview. But I knew once I saw the cast, I said, oh, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Okay. So they announced it. They first announced that they were doing a Mahogany line last summer. And then they announced in February the casting and that they began filming. And now it's here. And I am just incredibly grateful. I'm not going to go in depth in terms of just kind of my feelings as a Black woman, what this means to Hallmark, because I did that a little bit in an Instagram live that I did right before the movie premiered. And I talked with another Black woman who's in this Hallmark podcasting space. Her name is Ann Scott of the Hallmarkies podcast. And so we had a chat, and the live is still up there. So if you want to check out Dear Hallmark's Instagram, there's a link in the description box for that. But so I kind of shared my heart there, and I'm also going to share my heart in the podcast because that's the forum where I give myself space to really elaborate and go more in depth with the movies that I'm talking about. So all I'll say here is how precious this movie is, how momentous this occasion is, and how necessary this movie is as a Black woman who watches Hallmark, to finally see herself on screen, not as a supporting actor, not like seeing herself on screen saying Black people things. Okay, can I just say something real quick? And I believe Dan from Deck the Hallmark, he said this at one point, like sometimes we put in people of other ethnic groups into roles, but there's still this kind of like whitewashing of them, but like really going into the culture of an ethnic group. Like that's what I felt with this movie. It wasn't I don't know how else to say that I felt like I was watching my friends. I knew references, songs that were chosen. I felt like they were talking to me. And I appreciate that because, okay, I said I'm not going to go into in depth, so I won't. So I'll just leave it there. What this movie is about, if you haven't watched it, if you missed it by some happenstance, the movie in and of itself is about three friends, Allison, Melina, and Risa. Allison is an English professor who is doing an international trip or like a guest lecture. I don't know what to call it. But she did a stint for a little bit in Italy. And she's still there which is why we're set in Italy for this movie. Because Melina and Risa visit her because they haven't seen each other in 3 years. They're best friends from college. They went to Spelman. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this on the podcast. My goodness. And they haven't seen each other in 3 years. Their life has changed in 3 years. And you kind of see their friendship dynamic as they navigate these transitional periods in their lives. Allison is at a crossroads with where to go in her career. Risa is at a crossroads with where to go in her life as she's now retired from the military. And Melina is kind of at a crossroads within herself of just really being comfortable with who she is post cancer, because she beat cancer. And so now it's like she really needs to take life by the horns. But I think that's a lesson that she learns as the movie progresses. This movie dealt with a lot of it was a lot of stuff. There was some real marital issues when it came to Risa and her husband, played by Lance Gross, and in terms of how her not knowing what to do with her life, having been retired, and she's wanting to try everything, and he's just like, it's weighing him down. He feels frustrated, and now Risa's frustrated that he's frustrated, and it caused a rift in their marriage. And even Allison, as she's opening herself up back to love while she's in Italy, and this dude loves her, but she's like, I don't want to go down that road again, because she's a divorcee, we learn. This movie was just so well, what really blew it out of the water was the performances. I think whoever casted for this movie, we could not have asked for better people. Everyone who was in this movie were meant to play those parts, and for the life of me, I can't even begin to think of who else could play it. Erica Ash is Risa. Joyful Drake is Melina. Karen Pittman is Allison. Their chemistry as friends, whoa. I remember them talking about this in their Facebook Live, about how it almost felt like when they first met, it was like they were picking up where they left off, even though they first met. Which I can feel that. Like, they feel like friends. They feel like sisters in the movie. And this is the first kind of like female group-centered Hallmark movie where I actually didn't care about... I care about the man. I cared about the friendship. I was waiting for the women to come back on screen because I wanted to see what goofy thing Risa was going to do, or how excited Melina was going to be about a spice or a vegetable, or what profound thing Allison was going to say. They each had their respective personalities. Can we talk about Risa really quick, though? I'm just saying. Who here needs a Risa in their life? Anybody? You know? Because, ma'am, Erica Ash, can I just talk to you really quick? Thank you. Thank you. Because you brought such life, such vitality to that character. Yes, you provided much of the comedic relief, but it felt so natural. It felt so organic. It didn't feel like you were trying. That's what this movie felt effortless. It didn't feel like anybody was trying. Even when it came to the romantic relationships with Allison and Luca, I was gonna say Erica, Risa and her husband Andre, Melina and I forget her love interest's name. It didn't feel like anybody was trying. It just felt like, okay, we're watching a movie, which leads me to my biggest point. 2 points. Number one, I wanted more of Melina's character. I felt like her character was one that we saw the least of in terms of her love interest, becoming something. I felt like we're left out in the dark a lot with that. I wanted more from that. But I will say, when he took her, and I'm spoiling it, pause, watch the movie, come back, okay? I'm about to spoil it. When he takes her to the sunflower field. Love. I thought that was not cute. And they have a beautiful, intimate moment. I don't know if they're at his house. First of all, if that's his house, what does he do for a living? Okay. But that was beautiful. I wanted more from her storyline, which segues into my major point. This leaves room for a sequel. Or even a miniseries. Because Melina, the restaurant, the food critic, we never find out what happened with the food critic who watched over her restaurant. What had happened? I want to know what had happened. So that's the storyline we could get into. Her and the homie, the English homie that she meets in the cooking class. That's a storyline that we could get into if they're even still a thing. Because when I tell you the ending scene, when they're in there in the dresses and the homies are in there with their suits, I said, go ahead with your bad self. Just go ahead. Just leave me out of it. You go ahead with your bad self. Because that was just amazing. They were living their lives like it was golden. And can we talk about how that was the theme song for the movie? It was Jill Scott. When I heard that in the beginning, I said, we ain't in Kansas anymore, okay? And I loved it. I digress. So the other storylines that we could see in a sequel would be Risa and her husband Andre, because another kind of like parallel plot with them having tension in their marriage because of her trying to figure out her life post-military is also her trying to get pregnant. So that can be another storyline that we see in the sequel. Does she pick a career? What is she going to do with her life? Does she end up getting pregnant, or do they adopt? And so they have a family. What is Risa like? Can you imagine Risa as a mom? Yo, that would be the funniest. I need to see Risa as a Hallmark Mahogany. It behooves you to write a movie where Risa is a mother. Signed, Dara. So, with Allison's storyline, of course, do her and Luca get married? What's it like teaching in Italy? Where does she live now? What else is going on? Does she publish a book? Does she write more? Like, there's so much life that can be breathed into these characters for a sequel. Somebody gotta get on a bicycle. Somebody gotta start pedaling. Somebody gotta press the gas. Somebody gotta start the locomotive. I went back. Start the locomotive. Somebody. I need an engineer. Somebody. A developer. Somebody. A writer. This movie was 5 crowns. I don't know if you could tell already, but this movie is 5 crowns. And they showed previews for the next Mahogany movie. And I'm ready. The next Mahogany movie stars Sky Marshall and Tobias Truvillion, I believe his last name. Doesn't that sound like a lawyer's name? Like, it should be Tobias Truvillion Esquire. You know what I mean? Love that name. And it's a spin off of Sidney Poitier's movie To Start With Love, which it's so funny because when I read the title, I was like, oh, that sounds poetic and literary. But then when I said it out loud, I said, why does that sound familiar? That reminds me of Sidney Poitier's To Start With Love. And sure enough, during the commercials for Unthinkably Good Things, they were showing previews and sneak peeks of this movie. And they said, you know, inspired by a classic. And I was like, I picked up what you put down with the shovels I bought from Home Depot. I picked it up. They were good shovels, not sponsored. They were good shovels. So I appreciate that, and I look forward to that. The sneak peek that they showed was super, super funny. There was some banter there, which you know how I feel about banter. Sorry. Well, guys, that's all that this woman has to say about Unthinkably Good Things. This was an unthinkably good movie with unthinkably good people. So thank you, Hallmark Mahogany. Thank you, Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, Hallmark Channel, and Hallmark Drama for giving this movie the moment that it deserves. Now, a lot of people were saying, well, oh my gosh, are these always going to be on all 3 channels? No, at least I don't think so. I think they're just going to, what Mahogany, from what I remember from the article, they're just partnering with Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. That's where the movies are going to be premiering on until Mahogany gets its own network, which is what I'm assuming. Like, this is just the beginning of a bigger machine that's to come in the future. And I'm gonna try to find the article and then link it in the description box so you guys can really see the vision for what Hallmark has for Mahogany. And don't get it twisted. There are other, like, this is just one branch of the Hallmark card line. Like, people think this isn't representative of Hallmark, which is crazy because actually, if you look at their card lines, they have different card lines for different cultures. It's just that this is the first one that's being translated to film. Mahogany is just having their moment. But they have card lines for Spanish-speaking people, so that honors Latin culture, Asian cultures, Jewish culture. So this is just the beginning. Who knows? Maybe later down the road, we'll see something for the Latina card line getting translated to film, which would be dope, and I'll be just as excited. So needless to say, I love this movie. Who was your favorite character? What did you think about the friendship? Did you even care about the romantic relationships within this movie? This was by far the best friendship chemistry movie I've ever seen on Hallmark, point blank, period. Straight, no chaser. I don't need no salt or lemon. Just throw it in the trash. Well, you guys, my name is Dara. This is Dear Hallmark. There's stuff about Dear Hallmark in the description box, like Instagram link, Facebook link, podcast link. I got a book club too, where we read the books that Hallmark movies are based off of, and then compare and contrast. That's in the what's this called? A description box too. And then if you want, subscribe. There's a like button that you can hit. There's a notification bell that you can hit as well if you're looking around the home of Dear Hallmark. We've had some guests such as Cindy Busby. I said Terry J. Vaughan. We've had Tyler Hines, Andrew Walker, Neil Bledsoe. There's a lot of people that stopped through. You can take a cancer. It's all right if you don't want to stay. You're just trying to visit. But I encourage you to stay because we have fun or whatever in the comments. Speaking of which, I'll meet you guys down there to talk about this movie. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Ciao, my friends.